Hello everyone, I am Max Scoville, and that is not Max Scoville.
No.
That's Brian Altano. Brian Altano is a good friend of mine, and he's been good enough to tell me a little bit about the world of Resident Evil leading up to Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now, last time we sat down in this very seating area to chat, you explained the kind of overall story, the narrative of the Resident Evil universe. Today, I would like it if you could explain to me a bit about how the gameplay exists in this world.
Ooh, gameplay. So the cool thing about Resident Evil is how much the gameplay has sort of changed and evolved over the years from each game in the series. Resident Evil 1 is a very classic survival horror game. It's known for its old school classic tank controls where you rotate a character around to point in a different direction and hopefully not die. All the backgrounds are pre-rendered and there were two main characters you could play as. Resident Evil 2 and 3 are similar to 1 but are more action-y. 2 had main characters' stories crossover more, while 3 introduced dodging and a 180-degree turn. Code Veronica didn't have pre-rendered backgrounds, but it still had semi-fixed angles. Now, Resident Evil 0 let you switch between two characters on the fly. One of them was a prisoner. There were these baboons in a basement. They terrify me when I think of them. Resident Evil 4 has a camera that's behind you now, and it's way more about shooting and action. You can climb up buildings, you can kick down windows and jump through them and knock down ladders. You punch a guy with a chainsaw, it's great. Resident Evil 5 is fully co-op and even more action-y than Resident Evil 4. Now, Resident Evil 6 has 3 interconnected storylines, and each of them have their own gameplay style, alternating between survival horror to action. They also had co-op characters. Now, Revelations 1 has more of a survival horror approach and took place in a variety of levels, including a boat.
Ah, boats. Haunted houses of the sea. Now that leads us to Resident Evil Revelations 2. What's going on there?
So Revelations 2 is the first game in the series to be released episodically, so it's kind of like a TV show. Each episode has 2 campaigns in it. One follows Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, who are kidnapped and put on an island. The second follows Barry Burton and a little girl named Natalia, who are trying to find Claire and Moira.
All right, now tell me a little bit more about the cooperative elements here.
Yeah, so it's a little different this time around because each campaign in Revelations 2 has a clear main character, Barry or Claire, who handle most of the shooting and monster killing. And the support characters Moira and Natalia have special abilities.
I love special abilities so hard.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
This could come in handy. Guess I'm on light duty.
Moira has a flashlight to blind enemies and find items, and she can also crowbar open doors and kill enemies who are down. Now, Natalia has a crazy power. She can actually see enemies through walls to get their location.
Over there, another one.
How do you know?
I can just sort of see them.
So what's new in Revelations 2 as far as controls?
So in Revelations 2, you can actually switch between the 2 characters in the chapter. There are times you have to play as Moira or Natalia to solve certain puzzles, unlock doors, or pick locks. You can also play split screen with a friend or just have the computer control your counterpart. Or stare at the floor until you die.
Are there any other game modes?
Aside from the main campaign, you can also play it with a few modifiers. Countdown mode gives you a time limit, and invisible mode makes all the enemies invisible.
I wish I could make my enemies invisible. Tell us about raid mode.
Okay, so raid mode was included in the first Revelations, but it's gone through a bit of a makeover with Revelations 2. You get to play as different characters on challenge-based mini-maps, and it's way more action / kill everything in sight heavy. You can build up your character's active and passive skills and upgrade your guns. Also, they'll probably add more characters and maps with each episode, so we'll have more things to fight and fight with.
All right, so is that everything?
Yeah, that's pretty much every single Resident Evil game. You know, except for Resident Evil Survivor, Gaiden, Resident Evil Survivor 2, Dead Aim, Outbreak, Outbreak 2, Deadly Silence, The Umbrella Chronicles, The Dark Side Chronicles, Mercenaries 3D, Operation Raccoon City, the tabletop game, the mobile games, the action figures, the birthday cake I got at my birthday once, and probably something I missed.
If Brian missed anything, please let us know in the comments.
I'm sure I did, and I'm sure they will.
Anyway, next time we do one of these, we're going to be talking about how they make the cutscenes for Resident Evil Revelations 2, as well as a little bit more in-depth info about the characters. The second episode of Revelations 2 is out now, and we'll have a new episode of Full Disclosure following each episodic release of the game. If you would like to know more about the Resident Evil universe and all the games and the mechanics and the franchise and all that sort of thing, check out IGN. We got all that stuff right here. Brian, thank you for explaining all this stuff to me.
Thanks for inviting me to your house.
I don't live here.
You could.
All right, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.
Good night. I just keep picturing him living here. How weird would that be? There's no food. There's an eyeball in his house. He can't even go to sleep.